I'm Sarah, this is Abby, and welcome to A Swool Unlimited. If you're new here, I'm a scuba instructor, and I moved into my van in 2021 after losing my dive shop in Indonesia due to shutdowns. I've been on the road diving around the US, Canada, and Mexico, teaching on YouTube along the way. Okay, really quick, a little reminder about my diving expeditions. Both of my Baja trips in December and January are full, but I'm taking names for the wait list, and I'm possibly opening up the trips to a couple more people. So if you're wanting to get to Baja soon, send me an email and we might be able to get you in with the group. I also have a wait list for future Baja trips, so you can check out all of those dates on my website. I also have a super nerdy shark research trip happening in SOCORRO, April 2025. This is in collaboration with the nonprofit Fins Attached, and it's going to be such a blast. I only have a few spots left, so if you're interested in that, check out the details on my website. Let's get into the video. This dive day was a special one because I got to join Jonathan and his filming team from the popular YouTube channel Jonathan Bird's Blue World on a 6-gill shark dive. It was really cool to see how Jonathan worked with his camera crew. I also got to learn about how he approaches his YouTube content and how his platform has served his life and career goals.
You mind if I film you getting ready?
No.
Hold on, the important thing.
Hello.
I can't wait to see the videos his team creates from his time in Washington.
You're so cute. Oh.
She's just the best little dive dog.
Okay, I literally got this package just in time to go diving with 6-gill sharks. Let's check it out.
Oh man, this is exciting.
Okay, so many accessories, so many things. Da, da, da. Oh yeah. Man, she cute. There's her charging cable. You're going to plug her in, get her charged. 79%. Yes. Place an anti-fog insert here. Okay, I will. So that's these guys. We'll get into that. Hands down the most satisfying part of new camera gear. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh wait, we got two. Double the pleasure. Oh yeah. Sexy. Setting up the camera is really easy. Just remember to turn it on and sync it with the Insta360 app when you have service before your dive. Then you need to activate dive housing mode, and this will make your housing mostly invisible. There are places in the footage where you'll be able to see seams, but they've done a great job making it look as natural as possible. The dive housing mode also changes button functions to be compatible with the buttons accessible on the dive housing. The top button still serves as the on-off switch, but the button below becomes your recording option. Just a little FYI, you can program that Q button when your camera is outside of the dive housing. Our little dive team geared up and headed to the water in the hopes of seeing 6-gill sharks at Redondo in Washington. If you want to learn more about this dive site and the sharks, I did a whole video about them last year. I've linked that video in the description below. It's pretty obvious to see the dive housing above water, like you can see the water droplets on the housing, but watch as the line disappears when it's brought underwater. Since I was a guest on these dives, my goal was to get some shots and play with the camera, but mostly I needed to stay out of the way of our two videographers. Even so, I was able to get some sick footage of these deep water sharks. One little warning, I didn't have a preset for low light recording on these first dives, so you'll notice the footage is a little noisy. Every time you start using a new camera, it will take some time to work out the best settings for different kinds of diving. And what I learned with this batch of videos is I need to shoot at a higher resolution and bitrate. These were shot at 5.7K, 30 frames per second, and a bitrate of 56 megabytes per second. There are tons of videos on YouTube teaching about shooting in low light with these 360 cameras, and I've linked one of them in the description below. As for white balance, something that I really like about Insta360 is I think it does a much better job with white balance than any of the other action cameras I've tried. I did very minimal color correction on these videos. Like straight out of the camera, they look quite good.
Thanks for that. Appreciate you. Please eat that. Will you?
Some tips for first-time use. It will feel weird to hold the camera straight out or above you. The first couple of videos I played with, I tried holding it horizontally to get landscape footage, but it's not necessary with a 360 camera. The beautiful thing about this camera is it's recording everything, so you don't have to worry about framing as much. You choose your aspect ratio, whether you want the footage to be in vertical or horizontal formatting, in the app later. Also, one of the funnier things about editing this footage is seeing what your face does while you're focusing on your subject. What I love about it is I can bring movement to my shots. Like, I don't have to physically move my camera, but I can use the transitions within the app to scan, right, pan through a shot. And it gives something more interesting to the footage. I like having a variety of ways to share imagery and stories, and I think this is such a useful tool to have in my tool belt. The main thing you need to think about for framing is angle. You may want a cool wide-angle shot of yourself or a pelagic creature, so send the camera away from your subject. Another thing to think about is lighting. As you have probably seen here, if you angle your light too close to the housing, it will show up in the footage. You can avoid this by mounting your light and camera, but I like the flexibility of using the telescoping selfie stick with the X4 and lighting my subject by hand. It just takes some practice. Now, you guys know that I'm honest to a fault, so I have some notes on the Insta360. I originally purchased one of these cameras before I went to Indonesia, and you would have seen topside footage from the camera that I had on that trip. I did not end up taking that camera underwater because I had so many issues with it. My first X4 was really inconsistent. I found that it wouldn't record straight away when I pressed the record button. I would have to fuss with it a whole bunch to get it to record or even to make it stop recording. I thought maybe it was just an issue with the record button on the front, so I programmed this button on the side to be the record button. I still was having issues. It was really frustrating, but when it worked, I loved it. The footage is so fun to work with, and as a solo content creator, it was wonderful to be able to just start recording and get a whole bunch of different angles. I didn't have to go like running around placing the camera in random places. Because of these frustrations, I did contact the company and was like, what's the deal? And didn't have the best experience with their customer service. It was a brand new camera and I hadn't dropped it, I hadn't done anything to it. So I was like, this is obviously not a me issue. Like, can I send it to you guys and get a new one, or will you fix it for free? And they wouldn't guarantee that they would fix it for free. So I ended up just returning it, just full stop, returning it. Flash forward about a month after I got back from Indonesia, and Insta360 reached out to me because they wanted to collaborate on making content for the Ace Pro. I was like, this is weird. Like, why are you reaching out to me after I returned your camera? But obviously they're different teams, right? Like the customer service versus the marketing team. And so I took the opportunity to tell them my experience. The person that I am talking to that I've worked with through this whole issue was like, let's sort this out, we'll send you a new camera. That's how I ended up with another X4, and I have the Ace Pro, which I'm gonna be talking about in a future video. After doing some searches online, a lot of people have these same complaints. The one thing to remember if you do have this camera is it works best if you just press the record button quickly. If there's any kind of length to the button press, it does not communicate well. And part of that, I believe, is because there is a setting in here where a long press will cancel the recording. So you can go into the settings and turn that particular mode off, and I found that it's better. The record button is not quite as sensitive. Because I don't know about you, but in dry gloves, I am not the quickest. Whatever this issue is with the recording button, I'm hopeful that they're going to solve it in the future, maybe just with like a firmware update. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. As for diving mounts, on this dive, I use the telescoping tripod. This is a selfie stick, but it also has a handy dandy tripod. I like using this because of the versatility of it, of getting the camera far away from me. You have to be really careful with rinsing because obviously this has a lot of places where salt can accumulate. So be careful with that. There are also float mounts, and I've seen some people get really creative with these where they'll attach the 360 to their tank or other places and get different angles. So it's quite a fun thing to play with. Something else to consider when adding a 360 camera to your repertoire is it does add an extra step in the processing of the footage. If you're going for just short form vertical videos, I found it quite easy, actually. You use the Insta360 app and you can edit everything in there. It's a breeze. If you're like me and do a lot of long form horizontal, or that would be landscape, right? What you're watching here, it is an extra step, and I find that the desktop version of the app is not quite as intuitive as the mobile app, but it might just be a me thing, just putting that out there. But it does add an extra step. So you go in, you pick all of your angles and how you want your transitions. Then you can automatically export them to Premiere, and Final Cut Pro are the ones that are integrated with the Insta360 app. I use DaVinci, so I end up exporting that footage as a video file and then importing it into DaVinci to work with all my other footage. So it does add an extra layer. It takes more time to edit this footage, but I found that overall it is worth the extra effort. For example, this footage of me in Indonesia, seeing my boat and crew for the first time, I was so glad to have a 360 camera because it was a moment that I really wanted to be present for, but I also wanted to get footage. And so I literally just hit record, had it on the selfie stick, and let it go while I was seeing everyone and like crying and, you know, just having my moment, and I didn't have to worry. I knew that even though it might not be the prettiest footage in the whole world, it was capturing what I needed. So that's it. That's the video, and I would love to hear from you about this camera in the comments. Do you have one? What do you think of it? What tips do you have for people who are brand new getting into 360 footage? I've left a link to the X4 in the description below, so check it out and see what it can do for your dive footage game. Okay, love you, bye! 256 gigs, that's probably gonna be the 360 camera. It's always so hard to open these kinds of packages. Am I the only one that has problems with these? Every time it's like, how do I get into you? Literally. Oh, I'm an idiot. It pops out the back. Very cutesy, very demure, very mindful. This is gonna be a mess to deal with. Oh gosh. This is what happens when you're chaotic. I think I'm gonna leave this one here tonight. You will be for another time.